A court in Saudi Arabia sentenced 5 people to death for their involvement in the killing of journalist Jamal Khashoggi. The proceedings took nearly a year, were shrouded in secrecy, closed to the press and the public, and only open to a select group of diplomats. The NewsHour's William Brangham has details on the proceedings and a review of Khashoggi's murder.
In the case of the killing of the citizen Jamal Khashoggi, may he rest in peace, the Attorney General has finished its investigation.
The announcement came nearly 14 months after the murder of Jamal Khashoggi, the Saudi dissident and journalist. A spokesman for Saudi Arabia's public prosecutor read out the guilty verdict and the punishments on state TV. No names were released.
The death penalty for 5, and they are those who directly participated in his killing.
3 others received a total of 24 years in prison for covering up the killing, one that sparked a global outcry.
Chilling new developments in the disappearance of Washington Post columnist Jamal Khashoggi.
Saudi Arabia has admitted that the missing journalist Jamal Khashoggi died during his visit to the country's consulate in Istanbul earlier this month.
In October of last year, the Washington Post columnist walked into the Saudi consulate in Istanbul, Turkey, to pick up documents for his planned marriage. But he never came out. Security camera footage leaked by Turkey showed the team of Saudi agents who allegedly killed Khashoggi and then reportedly dismembered his body inside the consulate using a bone saw. Those team members worked for Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. The Saudi leader has denied any direct involvement, though in September he signaled for the first time some accountability.
When a crime is committed against a Saudi citizen by officials working for the Saudi government, as a leader I must take responsibility. This was a mistake.
The kingdom maintains the murder was part of a rogue operation to bring Khashoggi back to Saudi Arabia. The court said his killing was not premeditated, but rather a, quote, snap decision. That conclusion directly contradicts a United Nations report released in June, which found Khashoggi had been a victim of a deliberate, premeditated execution. The Saudi court also cleared 2 of the Crown Prince's senior aides of organizing the murder. Washington Post CEO and publisher Fred Ryan called it a sham trial. He criticized the kingdom's lack of transparency in its months of closed-door court proceedings. Khashoggi's fiancée, Hatice Cengiz, also rejected the verdict as, quote, unacceptable. But Khashoggi's son, Salah, who lives in Saudi Arabia, said justice had been served. For the PBS NewsHour, I'm William Brangham.
Joining me now from France is Agnès Callamard. She is the United Nations Special Rapporteur for extrajudicial, summary, or arbitrary killings. She is the author of that June report, which found Saudi Arabia responsible for the premeditated execution of Mr. Khashoggi. Dr. Callamard, welcome back to the NewsHour. First of all, when we saw your reaction right after this verdict was announced, you called it the antithesis of justice, a mockery. Why?
Well, there are several factors. The most important one is the fact that only the hitmen have been the object of the trial. The mastermind have not been included in the proceeding, and therefore the outcome of the trial is that we have the lowest level of the chain of command to be sentenced to death, while those that ordered them, those that commissioned the crime, those that turned a blind eye to the crime, none of those people have been concerned, worried, or indeed indicted.
The judge found that it was a spur-of-the-moment thing and not premeditated. How do you know that's wrong?
The killing of Mr. Khashoggi included a dismemberment. That cannot be done on the spur of the moment. It requires planning, if only to clean up the crime scene and to determine what to do with the body part. 2 hours before his killing, the forensic doctor and the head of the team, Mr. Moutreb, discussed the dismemberment, and it happened 2 hours later. It cannot be coincidental. It cannot be an accident. The forensic doctor was included in the team, in the killing team, at least 24 hours before the murder. That too, I think, is indicative of a fairly high level of planning and organization. Witnesses to the killing had been asked to leave the consulate before the people could be present. There is absolutely no indication that when Mr. Khashoggi was killed, that those present attempted to revive him, as you would expect if indeed it had been an accident.
Do you have any idea what happened to that evidence and why it was not considered, not presented evidently?
Well, I don't know if it was not presented. I do know that the prosecutor argued, at least for the first 8 hearings, that the crimes had been premeditated. There was a team of 18 Saudi officials that came after the killing, supposedly to investigate the killing. In fact, we know now that what they did was to clean the crime scene. But presumably they would also, in the process of cleaning up the crime scene, gathering some kind of evidence. None of that was presented at the trial, as far as I am aware.
So, and that gets to my question, who should have been held responsible, who was not?
Well, look, at a minimum, those that were implicated and directly involved in the team. That includes Asiri, who was the deputy director of intelligence and who was present and who was a member of the team. It includes Saud al-Qahtani, the personal advisor to the Crown Prince, who was known to have incited, to have spoken to the killing team just before it left for Turkey. Those 2 individuals, one of them was initially charged but found not guilty. The other one, Saud al-Qahtani, was not even charged. The prosecutor apparently attempted to interview him, but was never able or willing to proceed with that interview.
Do you believe there was ever a chance that justice would be done in Saudi Arabia?
Look, I'm not naive. It is not going to happen overnight. It's not even going to happen over a few years, probably. That means that we need to look for justice elsewhere. We need to look for justice in the United States, where the FBI has a mandate to undertake an investigation. We look for justice with the US Congress that has made that specific request last week for the director of the National Intelligence Services to issue a report on who ordered the killing. That will be a very important test for the independence of that director and his ability to provide us with a full truth over who ordered the crime. So I think there are other ways for the truth to be delivered and for some form of justice to be rendered.
Agnes Callamard, thank you very much. UN Special Rapporteur for Extrajudicial Executions. We thank you.
Thank you.